Do you feel sometimes that life is just this great big race and you're running and you're trying to win, and maybe even you could think of it like a series of competitions, and in between you're having to train and train and train, and you go to the competition, you got to win and you got to win, and then you win or you lose, and then there's another competition. It's this treadmill. Is there a way to get off it? Yeah, don't think of it as being like this arena that you're going to fight in. Think of it as being a jamboree where you're going to go and have a good time, like a festival, something like that. That's where you're going, and you're not having to prepare and build your muscles up to go and fight. You're getting stuff ready to take to the fair, to the festival. You're going to have a good time. You're preparing stuff maybe to sell at a stall. You're getting a picnic together and you're going to see your favorite bands. Think of life like that. It's a very different way of thinking. It's going from a competitive mindset to a collaborative kind of creative mindset. I began to get a handle on this idea when I came across a book called The Science of Getting Rich by this sort of somewhat enigmatic guy called Wallace Wattles, who wrote and self-published his book in 1910. It wasn't a hit instantly, but there's a whole kind of self-help industry has sort of been built upon it. Some have kind of wrapped this whole marketing thing around it, but I've rewritten the book for the 21st century to try and get back to the basics of what he was trying to teach. Wattles saw kind of human experience of life as being split into two ways of looking at things. There's competition and scarcity, and then there's abundance and creativity. If you're in that scarcity competition mindset, it's all about getting and trying to get your bit and your slice of the cake, and this cake is just there and there's only so many slices to go around, and maybe you're going to have to share a slice and cut that in half and cut it down and and then you might even have to fight for it, put your dukes up, son. And Wattles sees it in a completely different way. He lived an extraordinary time of sort of scientific discovery and was just getting to grips with this sort of idea of quantum physics and, what's out there, man? I think we all do that, what's out there and what's beyond that and what's beyond that, and is there a God and whatever. But basically, he kind of puts it all into a big bag, which you could call it God, whatever you like. You call it the universe, call it infinity. I call it nature because I think nature kind of encompasses everything. It encompasses the moon and the stars and the universe and everything. And it's like a big bag, a container inside which everything is. It's an infinite thing. It's massive. And within that is the formless stuff. It's just stuff inside this container. And the container itself, nature, and this stuff, they're intelligent, they're thinking stuff. And by thinking and coming up with thoughts, they go, what if it would be, how about if we create a universe? Bam, you create a universe. And what's this universe going to look like? And so let's have moons and stars and planets and black holes and all this sort of stuff. I mean, it's so big that we can't imagine how you create that in the first place. And science is coming up constantly with revelations of how the universe was created. But it comes down to us. So we get this little planet, Earth, cools down enough. And this is a part of nature. Nature is in it and through it. And it is part of nature and nature is part of it. And it creates through evolving ideas. How about we do this? What about this? And everything eventually grows until we appear. And we are given this extraordinary gift of thought, which is the thing that nature has, its special ingredient. It has this ability to think of something and to impress its idea onto the formless stuff and create it. And we have that ability too. You have the ability to get a big stick and go and bash someone on the head and take what they've got. But you also have the ability of thinking and being creative and thinking, ding, I've just had an idea. and what if, and you think about it and think about it, and while you're thinking and planning and working it out, nature, all that formless stuff is coming together, and deep down below it's kind of building and building and building. The more you focus and the more you build this idea, it starts to come together. And it might come together because somebody over the other side of the world has just invented something, and you somehow have to come to meet. And the internet has allowed us to meet much more quickly these days. And all these things come together, and you go, oh yeah, I can use that, I can use that. And eventually your idea comes together and you create something. And maybe from that creative idea, you build a little business, and that creates value. Or maybe, you come up with a new office system or something for where you work, and that creates value within the business, creates value for you because your kudos goes up. This is how it works. It's creativity. It's about creating something which is good for you, but providing value for everybody else so that everybody wins. Rather than you taking from somebody, you are giving out to the world and raising yourself at the same time in money, value, praise, fame, whatever, but you're getting something from it by doing something creative rather than competitive. This video is a response to one I made, a reading of chapter 5. You can click up here and go and listen to that afterwards. You can click up here and go and watch that afterwards. And there's an idea there about there's the body and the mind and the spirit. These three things that you need to kind of keep in balance. And, obviously the body is, sort of all the things you want to do and enjoy with your body. Maybe sport and things, maybe making love and stuff like that, whatever. It's all part of the body. These are all natural human things. Eating, drinking, being merry, all that sort of stuff. And then there's the mind, the intellectual pursuits. If you just do one of these things on their own and sort of dedicate your life to them, you're not a full person. You're not using everything that you can. You're not appreciating everything that you can. So if you spend your whole life stuck in a book, you're missing what's going on out there. If you spend your whole life focused purely on one little intellectual pursuit, you don't know what's going on around there. You're missing stuff that might be relevant to what you're pursuing. And similarly with the spirit, it's good to look after other people, but not totally, not to give yourself totally, because giving yourself totally to other people is making yourself a slave, really, isn't it? So it's good to help others, but not to just be spending all your time doing that. So it's juggling. It's about juggling all these three things. There is this little idea in there which is easy to slip by about the person you can become, and it's sort of like there's multi-universe theories which drive us mad. Once somebody puts that idea into your mind that if I do this now, I could have done that instead, and so it splits, and the whole universe splits, and there are all these multiple universes in which just my universe of all the different things I could have done. So there's billions and millions, well, infinite number of universes, but there are these universes out there in which you are a different person, and there is sort of this one universe or this one possibility of who you could be, which is out there, and it is pulling you, and it's saying, come and fill this shape. And you can either go yes and go towards it and become that person that you could be, or you can go, nah, that's too much hard work, no, that's stupid, I'm not going to do it. And you can just remain where you are, become bitter and twisted, or you can go forwards and become someone that you can live with, and some of the other people can live with too, and someone who fits into the world, fits in with nature and becomes a part of nature and is working for nature, with nature, through nature, creatively and not competitively. I really like that little paragraph in there about being on a plane, and if everything goes wrong, they always tell you the oxygen mask comes down, and they always tell you put your oxygen mask on first. If you don't think of yourself first and put your oxygen mask on first, you are useless. In fact, you become a burden to everybody else. Once you've got your oxygen mask on, then you can go and help other people to put their masks on. But until you've got oxygen yourself, you are useless and you're not going to help anybody. And so it is with life, and so it is with creating wealth, and the whole thing about the science of getting rich, the certain way, as I call it, is getting rich so that you can help yourself and help others without being a burden to them, and being a part of nature and building something rather than smashing it down and stealing other people's stuff. Building not just for you, but for other people and for nature and for history, for the world, for the evolution of the universe. You are a part of it, and you have been given this incredible gift of thought to be able to have ideas and go ding, and then to follow through with certainty and energy, and to turn that thought, whatever it is an electrical impulse, just to turn that thought with the help of the formless stuff, with your certainty, perspicacity, that's a good word, turn it into something real. This is an incredible gift you've been given. Use it wisely. If you've watched this far, I'm going to suggest you get my book, The Certain Way, because you're going to want to read it again and again and again. I know when I first came across The Certain Way some 20 years ago, I read it again and again and again. And each time I think I got it and I drift away.